Okay, so we'll now find the hole. I've got my thumb sitting on it because I can feel the air coming out. Sometimes they're really small, but you'll definitely get air coming out of them. So the little hole's right here in that part of the tube. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of chalk and put a chalk marker around it, keeping it in the centre of that mark, because that's going to help you identify it once the tube is deflated, so we can actually find the hole again. Because once the tube goes down, it'll just disappear from visual sight. So the chalk mark gives us a place where we need to work. So I'm going to deflate the tube. So I'll pop the valve out again. And there we go. Now we're going to work, I'll work on the corner of the bench because that's not going to be nice easy to straddle a tube across it. So we know our hole's right in the middle area of that mark. So what we need to do is pick the right size patch, because once we have got a patch, we need to make sure it's not going to be too big, otherwise it could affect the wheel's balance. So I've got some patches here you can have a look at, and you can see they range in quite a few different sizes. A couple of different makes. And a little one. Now, seeing it's only a very small hole, I think we'll go with the littlest patch. Now we've got to rough up the tube where this patch is going to sit on so that it actually will adhere to the tube properly. When you feel a tube, you've got a sort of almost like a powdery feeling on. So we've got to rough that up, otherwise the patch won't stick properly with the cold vulcanising glue. So we've got to clean this area around here on the tube a little bit bigger than the patch, so we've got a bit of a margin around. So we'll do that, and there's a couple of ways you can do it. There is a tool that's designed to do that, just a piece of metal with a lot of holes in it, and it's got a rough abrasive feeling. Alternative, which is probably going to be easy because you most likely won't have the tool, is a piece of emery paper. So a bit of coarse emery paper, and just rub it back and forward. Alright, so what we're now trying to achieve is that we want to get rid of that glossy finish that's on the tube. It's got to look a bit rough in finish, and that's so the glue can actually bond to the tube properly, and we're not far off, and a little bit more on the edge, that's all. Because we've got to make sure, because we know our hole's right here, I have got to make sure that that margin is just outside our patch. So we need a little bit more, and once I've got that right, the next step is to put the glue on. Don't get too carried away here, because you are removing a part of the surface of the tube, and if you do it too hard you might create a weak spot in it. So now once you've done that, at no stage touch it with your fingers, because what's in your fingers is oil, and that oil, once you've touched that, will actually contaminate that site. So all the time, just remember never to touch that with your fingers. So we get a glue, and it's called a cold vulcanising glue. And we're going to paint that circle area where we want that glue to be. So we're going to paint this area here. Not too much. So what we're going to do now is just wait a little amount of time. It doesn't take very long for that glue to actually dry. And then once it's dry, we'll be able to put the patch on. Now you can see the glue has nearly dried. It's just got a little bit more in the middle. Now, to make absolutely sure it's ready to go, you need to just check it by using your hands, but you can't use the front, as I explained before. So if you use the back of your finger, it's a good way to check and to see if it's just still a little bit tacky still, and those little shiny spots. So we just got to wait a little bit longer, and that tube will be ready to put the patch on. Now this is what I call a pizza roller, but it's basically a roller to get the air out from underneath the patch. If you don't have one, you can use your thumbs, and I'll show you how to do that first, but this thing is the best way to get the air out from underneath the patch, and when I put it on I'll demonstrate how that actually works. But you need to make sure you get all the air out from underneath the patch so that there's no way air from the tube can get in underneath the patch and then actually lift the patch off. Alright, so we'll just check with the back of our finger, and all that surface is dry now. You can't wait too long for that. If you leave it too long, like go away and come back in half an hour, it probably will be too long. The glue would have dried too much, so you need to catch it just as soon as it dries. That's the moment you need to put the patch on. So next step is to peel the foil off the back of the patch, like so. Now once again, do not touch that with your finger, otherwise you might as well throw the patch away. Okay, now we know my hole is right in the centre, so I'm going to position that patch right over the centre of that hole and push it down. Now if you push it with your thumb in the middle and then work your way out to the edges, like so. And make sure that it's pushed down nice and firm. That patch should be well and truly cured or stuck to the tie. Just check the edge. Okay, so that's the way you can do it with your fingers. If you've got one of these rollers, and there's many variations, but this is the one I've got. You start in the middle and you run back and forward across the patch. And what that's doing is forcing any air that may be still under there out. And then back the other way. Out to the edge. Do it at 90 degrees. Do it again, out to the edge. And bingo. That's it. Patch is stuck. So that's called a cold vulcanising process. Don't bother taking that little bit of cellophane off, just leave that on, it won't hurt. If you try and pull it off, you may actually pull the edge of the patch up, so I'd leave it alone. That's